of information about Blackrock, about the corporate world order, about what is really controlling our lives at a very material level in our grocery stores, in our shopping, in the actual monetary ways that keeps our country locked down, keeps us locked down. And in many ways, it's actually a much more immediate type of a threat to our lives. It's a much more immediate type of control that manages our country with money, with investors, with shareholders from boardrooms. It's a much more direct and immediate type of collusion and control than a lot of the grander intelligence agency, trafficking, Epstein kinds of things. Both are very important. But this one is in our everyday lives, and there's things that we can do about it every single day in the grocery store. So I just want to be clear that we're not just going to like advertise an app this whole live stream. We're going to basically drop the thesis as an informational narrative of which is actually also the story of me and my content. It's the story of me from my very first TikTok video, which we'll watch in just a second here, all the way to today. And the Buyer app is actually kind of a synthesis of this whole train of thought of who owns everything and what are they doing with that ownership and control, and what can we as regular citizens do about it to at least exercise a little bit of push and change both in our daily lives and in our collective community. So we're going to take it through the Blackrock thesis. We're going to watch some old school Ian Carroll content from the very first beginning. And then we're going to walk that thesis forwards without belaboring it too many points, because a lot of you guys know some of it. And then we're going to go all the way to the Buyer app, which is the synthesis of that research and the synthesis of an understanding of what we can do about it and how we can vote with our dollars. And I'll introduce the Buyer team. There's 3 of us, and they'll come on for a little bit. We'll talk about how the story started and how it was built. And then we'll also, you might notice that I have a whole grocery store in studio with me today. I went and spent a whole bunch of money at the grocery store today at HEB, founder and family-owned grocery store here in Texas. And most of these products I'm never going to use, so I'm going to use them on live stream for a little while for doing Buyer stuff and for doing scans and just having fun, mostly on Twitch. We'll do a little bit of that here today. And then once we're done with all that, I'm going to donate all this to a food bank and or other services that can take this and use it all, because I won't use a lot of it, because I personally bought products of all different varieties so that we can see what mega corporate products look like, what family and founder owned products look like, and what all the sneaky things in between might look like. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that. And then when we're done here with this live stream, we're going to go do an after party on Twitch where we're going to do a whole bunch more playing around with the Buyer app, with the products. We'll play some games, and we'll just dive a little bit deeper and have a little bit more fun in a much looser environment afterwards as an after party. So that's our run of show. If you're new to the channel, thanks for being here. Welcome. If you have fun here today, hit the subscribe button. If you're in the chat right now and you haven't already, hit the like button. Hugely helps out the channel. If you are dying to watch Candace and you're concerned about whether or not we're live streaming together, we're not, obviously. And I obviously don't take offense. If you want to go watch Candace, support our girl. And this will be here for you. It's not going anywhere. This live stream will be published later. You can come back and watch it right after. No big deal. In fact, we'll probably still be live when she's done. But that's the story. If you're watching on Twitch, shout out to Twitch chat right here. If you're watching on YouTube, I will be watching for your supers. And I won't get to as many as some days, but I will make space for supers at the end. I already see a couple of big supers came in. Really appreciate the support. Thank you. You're all legends. So really quickly, I'm going to give a little context right here at the start to what is going on here. What is the Buyer app and what is this announcement? And then we're going to put that away. We're going to get into the narrative of what built this, what controls our country, and what are we going to do about it? And then we'll come back to Buyer later on. But first, do I have to replug? First, within 24 hours, Buyer app is #1 in health and fitness because you guys are freaking legends downloading this thing like crazy. Buyer is in the App Store, the iOS App Store, and the Google Play Store. It went live yesterday, finally. We announced it everywhere. Actually, I guess it went live, I think, the day before. And then we announced it everywhere yesterday. And you guys have just flooded in with support. You actually crashed the server momentarily. And we had to reboot the server, upgrade the server. And now it's working like a charm. This is the first iteration, and we're super proud of it, and we'll tell you all about that later. But we will also be adding to it over time, month on month. We've already got a couple of features in the works that are going to change the game. And I just want to clarify that it's free. The free version will tell you everything you need to know. It'll tell you who owns everything. You can scan as much as you want for free. You can do the basic filtering for free. All the basics are free. The paid version is to give you a little bit extra, a little bit more here, a little bit more there, a little bit more of this feature, a little bit more of that feature, and to pay the bills so that we don't, wind up going broke supporting this thing. And we really appreciate your support. Really appreciate your downloads. We really appreciate your 5-star reviews. If you're enjoying the Buyer app, thank you so much for your 5-star reviews. It's crazy to have an app launch this powerfully, this quickly. And I think that by the end of this live stream, once you get the backstory of why we built this thing and why it matters, why it's a useful tool for you guys, for your personal lives, but also why it's a useful tool for our nation and for our culture, for everyone in every nation around the world, and why this thing can actually help make a difference, I think that you'll understand exactly why we're so stoked for this, because it's cool to see the app have success, but it's way cooler to imagine what that's going to do for all of us pushing back against this corporatocracy, against this sort of like Blackrock world order, as if you will. So that's what we're here about. You can go download it right now. Don't forget to put the apostrophe into Buyer, BUY''R. That'll make it extra easy to find. But it's creeping up there. It's getting ranked and all the things, so you'll find it. Now, let's go back in time. Let's do a little time machine. And I actually just discovered today, that on TikTok and Instagram, you actually cannot scroll all the way back to the beginning of my feed, at least, anymore, if you're on desktop. Apparently, you can only go back all the way to the beginning on a phone. Because, there's been some heat lately about where Ian Carroll came from. And I figured we just remind ourselves exactly where we started. Because where we started is exactly where we wound up now, with trying to figure out who owns everything. And looking at what we were doing back at the start of this journey to figure out who owns all the products in the grocery stores is pretty funny. And it's pretty telling that we're still on the same train of thought, and now we're here. So, sorry, I guess have to unplug and replug every time that we get in here. This is the very first video that I ever posted on TikTok. Who owns everything? And there's no audio, and that's fine. And it was me looking into the corporate media, me looking into who owns the media. And that blew up right away because it's a question that's on all of our minds. It's a very basic question that's on all of our minds. But it got me thinking, like, who owns all the rest of the stuff? Who owns, like, all these other industries? Who owns the food systems? Who owns the energy systems? Who owns green energy systems? Who owns the military-industrial complex? Who owns transportation? Okay? And by now, we kind of all know. And I kind of arrived at the answer that we all know, is that a bunch of shareholders own the whole system. And the top of every shareholder chart is Vanguard, Blackrock, and State Street. But it's not just a simple they own the company. They own the shares. And Vanguard, Blackrock, and State Street are at the top of every list because they hold all of our retirement accounts and they hold all of our retirement money. So they manage all these shares on our behalf. And when they manage the shares on our behalf, they manage our voting rights in the corporate system, which is kind of a pay-to-play democracy. And when you start to put these pieces of this theory together, the pieces of this truth together of how our corporate system works, the oligarchy, so to speak, the club, the big club, as George Carlin termed it, you start to realize exactly how each piece links into the next to understand where this top-down control really comes from and what's really moving and shaking in these markets, so to speak. And when I hit 1 million followers on TikTok, about 8 months after I started on TikTok, this is back in January of 2024, I put together a video for 1 million subscribers and to put the whole thesis into one go. And this is that video. And we're just going to play the whole thing as it is because it really puts it all together and it's going to walk us in to where we're going right here. Corporate grocery store. What if I told you that all corporations are actually just one giant mega corporation? And I'm not talking about metaphorically. And I'm not talking about BlackRock. I'm talking about what's really behind BlackRock. See, we hit 1 million followers on TikTok this week, and I've been waiting to post this video since the very first video that I made, laying the groundwork of understanding so that we're all going to understand this now that we're here. So let's break it down real simple. If you're going to go grocery shopping at a corporate grocery store, all of these corporations are owned by these institutions. They're highlighted in red if they're on all 4 of these sheets. They're darker orange if they're on 3 of them, and light orange if they're on 2. And there's only a couple that only appear once. It's mostly the same money. But we go deeper. If you go, anyone in the chat here for this video when it first posted? Anyone in the chat been here this long? You guys been here this long? This is a crazy throwback for me. Going all the way back to these early videos was crazy. For the biggest tech companies, it's basically the exact same list for all 4 of these. That would be Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Geode, which is similar to Fidelity Associates. So if you need any context, when you look up any public corporation, any public company, these are the big companies, you know, the ones that we all know and love: Amazon, Apple, Archer Daniel Midland, Campbell's Soup, General Mills. All of those, they're public companies, meaning that you can buy stock of them, like a GameStop share, for example. And when you buy stock of them, you buy one little slice of ownership, and that gives you 1 vote in their corporate elections. And so when you look up their ownership sheets to see who owns the most stock, you're looking at the biggest voters, the people that have the biggest voting power in how those companies are run. And when you look at the whole marketplace, at all the public corporations, you notice that the top of their ownership sheets, their top 10 holders, it's all the same people. And it's not people. It's banks, financial institutions, and investment management firms like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. So that's the level that we're at here. And we spent like many months exploring that level, looking at all these different companies, exploring how the financial mechanisms, the economic mechanics of that work. And then we're going to go to the next layer deeper. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. And then Northern Trust is on 3 of them, and Capital World Investors is the exact same thing as Capital Research and Management Company. So you might think, okay, these are the institutions that own the whole stock market, but who owns them? And see, if you've been around here for a minute, you already know. They all own each other. Just a giant cross ownership pool. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because see, way back before I'd even posted a single video, I was sitting in my office reading this report from an anonymous user on Reddit. Shout out to Super Stonk. We got any Super Stonkers in here back in the GameStop Reddit days? And he had noticed the exact same thing that I'm talking about right now. And he wrote a program to put all that data into a visualization so we can see who owns who. And I'm about to show you what he figured out. Let's take BlackRock, for example. This is a list of the top institutional owners of BlackRock and how much of the company they own. And if you visualize it, it looks like this, where the whole square is all of BlackRock's stock, and they get a percentage of that square based on how much they own. And the important colors to note are that white symbolizes us, retail investors, and gray symbolizes insiders that work at the company. So that would be like Larry Fink's stock, among other people. And everything else is other giant corporations, investment banks, like BlackRock themselves own a little bit. State Street owns some. Capital World Management owns some. Bank of America owns some. You see how this works? But then you think about it and you're like, well, wait a minute, because all of these institutions are owned by other institutions, right? So what if we put that data in here? Well, he did. And it looks like this. And you realize that all of this that was owned by Merrill Lynch is actually owned by all of these other institutions and a little bit of us, retail, up there at the top. But here, we've only replaced Merrill Lynch's section. What about all of these guys? Well, then it looks like this. Remember, white is retail investors like you and me, and everything else is giant mega corporations. And if you go one layer deeper, filling in all those corporations with their corporations, you see how this program's working? And so then we simplify it to just black, gray, and white. And this is who owns BlackRock. White is retail investors like you and me. Gray is insiders at all of these corporations like CEOs and other executives. And black is just corporations owning each other. We'll call it Megacorp. So what that just showed is that at BlackRock, and you'll see that this is true of basically every mega corporation in America and around the world, the biggest voting share is held by other corporations. And those other corporations that are voting, that are holding the shares at the top of everything, they're all the financial institutions. And so it's the financial industry, it's this financial cabal, for lack of a better word, that control the majority of voting shares at every public corporation, and thereby they can push corporate policy at every corporation. They choose who gets hired and fired. They choose what policies are adopted. They choose how our entire world marches forwards, because corporations are the biggest businesses in the world. They're what's building our culture. They're what's making our media. They're what's giving us our food. They're what's making us our clothes. They're what's selling us all of our products. And so when they're all making decisions based upon the voting decisions of the black space, the mega corporate blob, it's no wonder that we wind up in such a corporate hellscape and that America looks the way that America does. That's what this graph really helps to show. That's what this visualization really paints for us. And then we start to do it with other institutions. This is the same process done for Bank of America and for State Street and for Best Buy, Amazon, Macy's. Groceries, food, ingredients, building and selling homes, even less white, meaning us, retail ownership. As far as I can tell, there's only one company on the entire stock market that is not owned by Megacorp. Shout out. Do you know? It's GameStop. Except that this photo's out of date because it's from a few years ago.
It's still true.
Probably looks more like this if you believe the public info, which is a big if. But more on that another time. This is not a video about GameStop. This is about Megacorp. Because see, when all of the owners own each other, all of their interests are aligned. BlackRock wants State Street to do well because State Street wants BlackRock to do well because they both own each other. So
technically, actually, BlackRock owns State Street outright nowadays. They bought them. But the same is true in every direction up there in those financial institutions. It's all shared ownership, and so it's all aligned interests.
who is the real final boss behind all the money? Well, isn't that the million-dollar question? And ever since I've been asking those more important questions, my follower growth went from this to this. So you're not going to find those answers on this channel. You're going to have to go follow me in other places.
That was when TikTok was getting mega censored. And we've been exploring those questions ever since.
All I'll say for now is that the next time you buy a product from a corporation like Nike or Costco or Best Buy or Amazon or any of these corporations, you're buying it from the mega corporation. They're all owned by the same big money. And it's all one big siphon, just vacuuming money out of our pockets up to the people on top. We'll make another video about how exactly they do that shortly. For now, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that is here and here and here. Your support means the world to me, and it allows me to do this work to help support small businesses and help look for the truth of what the heck's going on in this world. For all you guys that have been here since the beginning, you are legends. I notice you in the comments. I see you. I appreciate you, even if I don't get to as many comments and as many DMs as I used to. For all the people that have helped me do the digging, that have given me tips, that have collaborated along the way, I love you. You're amazing. Please never stop being curious. Do your own research. Don't trust the government, and get ready for a lot of censorship in 2024. So the very first video I ever posted on my page back in May of last year was about who owns everything. It only took us 8 months, a couple hundred videos, and 1 million followers to get right back to the exact same question. Who owns everything?
Who owns everything? And it only took us 2.5 years to get right back to where we started with who owns everything. And now we've built a tool that's going to massively enhance every regular American's ability to figure out who owns everything in the grocery store when you're shopping, when you're spending your hard-earned dollars. So it's been a wild journey. I'd be curious if anyone that's watching right now has been here since the start. Has anyone that's watching here been here since those first months on TikTok when we were first bumbling around, learning what was what, learning what's going on, figuring everything out? Because it's been a crazy ride. And we're going to play one more video from the old school days that is probably the most viral video I've ever made. It's probably the video that a lot of the OGs found me from. And it's going to show you the process of going through grocery store aisles that I used to go through in order to figure out who owns everything in the grocery store aisles. And it's going to show you what you find out when you look at grocery store aisles and you try to figure out who owns all those products on the grocery store shelves. And that is sort of what we have just simplified and given out to the masses with Buyer.
So throwback to the shampoo days.
Make your hair fall out. I went to Target and I found the real hair care aisle and another one. We have time, we'll even do the little men's aisle here at the end. This game's simple. We're looking for any brand that's not owned by a mega corporation, or at least a brand that is not in a class action lawsuit for shampoo that makes your hair fall out. No joke. Starting off with Pantene. Who owns Pantene? Procter & Gamble. And if your top shareholders are a bunch of fund managers and banks, no one gives a shit about a hair product in your aisle. So Pantene looks like that. What about OGX? Accidentally went.
While you're watching, just notice that this kind of research took all day. Like, this kind of stuff takes a lot of time. To figure out any one product doesn't necessarily take that long, but to figure out like the whole aisle, to compare brands, to get a scope for the whole thing you're looking at, it takes a whole day, let alone to produce a video, which takes even longer. So
Down this rabbit hole about this Brazilian oil company, and I met this billionaire who was an international speedboat champion, got arrested for like major fraud. He was
Shout out
once
to
worth
Aika.
$32 billion and boasted that he would overtake our buddy Carlos Slim as the richest man in the world by 2015. And then his wealth went from this peak of 32 billion to a negative net worth of over 100% losses. Top it all off, he got indicted for a $100 million money laundering scheme, paying off the governor of Rio de Janeiro $16 million. And he is now on a, 30-year sentence in prison.
So that was just an unrelated rabbit hole. Never forget to be curious. Never forget to like actually just go down the rabbit hole and figure out what's at the other side. And in this case, it's a billionaire doing shady shit, corrupting the government, paying bribes, and committing fraud. And for once, he got caught and went to jail. Shout out to Mr. Batista.
It's like, what is going on? But then I think I realized it was the wrong OGX. And we're talking about a different criminal OGX. That's right. You really can't make this shit up. OGX shampoo is in a class action lawsuit for putting in chemicals that cause hair loss. And it's not just them. Oh, and by the way, OGX is...
To be clear, they aren't criminal. They're just a corporation. I rescind that. I denounce saying that they're a criminal. They're not a criminal. That's just all allegedly. They're in a class action lawsuit, or they were.
Owned by Johnson & Johnson. And we have seen this sheet several times before. So now that we're back on track, here's our aisle. Moving down, it's more of the same. Then we scooch on down and we find herbal essences, which is obviously not so herbal. So we'll just color their whole section in red. Ah, shit, well, we've done this before. We got Unilever. And if you don't know, now you know. And at the end of the aisle, we got Tresemme. Is that French? That must be good for your hair. Yeah, totally.
Oh, how much more we know about the French now than back then.
Not to mention that if you were paying attention, you would have realized that Tresemme is also making your hair fall out. So that's aisle number 1. Welcome to Target. Okay.
So that was just showing us that the entire aisle, every single product was made by mega corporations. The ones that look really nice and natural, the ones that look like they obviously are mega corporate, everything in between, that whole aisle was just mega corporations.
Aisle number 2. We already did Suave. Unilever gave away their North American business to private equity. But fuck them, I'm feeling spicy this morning. We're giving them straight up red. Next we got Garnier Fructis, L'Oreal Group. Oh shit, L'Oreal's family owned, man. Still owned by the Bettencourt Myers family. That's so cool. I mean, L'Oreal can go fuck itself. That ain't cool. Fuck these billionaires. That's right, red. How about Aussie? Yeah, you know
Am I more sassy now or less sassy than I used to be? I cannot tell.
the drill. Red. Oh, snap. But now we got all kinds of stuff going on. And by all kinds of stuff, I mean a whole bunch of companies making products that will put the hair back in your head that they already made fall out. These are the ones that we already investigated with their...
That's a true story. So the end of the aisle had hair regrowth products that were all from the same brands that were down the aisle giving you shampoo. And a bunch of them are the same exact companies that are in lawsuits for making your hair fall out, selling you hair regrowth products at the end of the aisle. Which is, if that's not the perfect representation of the corporatocracy, I do not know what is.
Cute little different types of bottles and shit of fake ass drugs to fix the problem that they fucking made. Now we're gonna look into Axe and Vivenna and Nioxin and whatever this stuff is down here in these bottles and this little horsey shit. All right, you ready to speed run this? Let's go, baby. Nioxin. Axe is Unilever. Oh, hey, Viviscal. Church and Dwight. That's new. Psych. Just another mega corporation. Pert Plus is Procter & Gamble. Nexus is Unilever. Next we got this horse shampoo and whatever. Oh, wait a minute. I think that's Raw Sugar. Damn straight.
Shout out
We
to
already
Made in
met Raw
Tail,
Sugar.
baby.
They are family founder owned. They're legit. Props to Donda. And if you know, then you already know that horse shampoo is actually the shit, and it's owned by the founders, and they got some dope ass story, and I'm not gonna dig too deep lest I discover something awful about it. I'm just making fun of them. It's not actually horse shampoo. It's called Mane and Tail. Check it out. So I think we finish off kind of like this. I don't know what that shit is. All right, moving down into the men's section. This is stuff we already did. Dove, men's, bullshit. Suave, men's, bullshit. I'm just gonna speed run all of this all at once. Michiru is owned by Unilever. Old Spice is Procter & Gamble. Got to Be is owned by Schwarzkopf. Schwarzkopf is owned by Henkel. Henkel's ownership is a little different, but don't kid yourself. This is what a mega corporation looks like. Hers is like actually hims and hers, erectile dysfunction pills that some homie started in 2017. We're not gonna dig any deeper. We're just gonna let him have his party. So you can put erectile dysfunction stuff in your hair if you want. Sorry, I'm just playing, Andrew. I'm just playing. Nizoral is owned by Kramer Laboratory, and Kramer Laboratory is having an identity crisis. I'm getting 3 different answers from my Google search. Turns out it all leads up to Banks Group. That's not promising. And that leads up to some private equity owned by Bart Becht. $30 billion worth of private equity. When in doubt, just type in your trusty Google search. Product name, lawsuits. And you'll find out that some of Nizaral's products are breaking up your liver. They're clearly not too concerned with your health. And lastly, we got Head & Shoulders, which will forever remind me of that 90s movie about the aliens where they had to kill the aliens with the Head & Shoulders shampoo. Sorry, Gen Z, that was on VHS. So, end of the aisle looks like this. We got some raw sugar, we got some erectile dysfunction medication, and we got some private equity in orange. Holy damn. So, Target sucks, don't go there. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that Target's owned by some bullshit too? So next time you're out shopping, you just remember, it don't matter who you buy from. All that money goes to the same fund managers and the same private equity billionaire banker bitches. We didn't have time to get to this fancy shit today, but we'll get there. And if you're waiting for me to tell you that native shampoo is good, I'm sorry. You shouldn't watch the next video. So that's the real shampoo aisle, and a little side tangent about a Brazilian billionaire that likes to race jet skis and is now in prison. All this shit's depressing. I'm gonna go into the mountains for the weekend and run around. So I'll see you next week. Peace.
Yeah. So that's how we came up. That's what I started out doing. And that's what got us into this whole train of thought of who owns everything. And this was before I started making spreadsheets, but as you can imagine, in all of the comment sections of all of these videos for all these different aisles of the grocery store, people were repeatedly saying, yo, you got to put this in a spreadsheet so I can use the spreadsheet to figure out who owns what, and we can keep track of it all. And eventually I realized that's a great idea. And I started making spreadsheets of every single grocery aisle with all the information that I was collecting. And I just published it as a Google spreadsheet, just so that people would go into the grocery stores with their phone and open the Google spreadsheet and look around and try to find something that was family or founder owned. Because when you start to realize what this mega corporation, what this conglomerate of money that rules this world, when you start to realize what you're doing when you're buying from them and where your money is flowing and how it's never coming back down into you or to your community or anything like that, you start to realize that if you can just support a few more family and founder-owned businesses, that will start to take our world back from this blob, at least little by little by little. But it's really hard to find family and founder-owned businesses when they're hiding them like that, when they're buying up all of the newcomers. Any company that grows big enough suddenly gets swooped up by big money. I could single out a million of these guys. Here's just 2 that are right here, easy. Darlings back when they were made, that then they sell out, but they keep their branding and they keep it looking just like it always was. So you don't realize that now you're once again buying from the mega corporation. So that was where I came from. That's where this thesis came from. That's where this whole Blackrock conspiracy evolved from. And for a lot of people, I'm not the first one that discovered the Blackrock conspiracy by any means. This has been known for a long time. Long before I was even born, Blackrock was already being bitches. But for most people, there's the nuance ends, and it's just BlackRock owns everything. But it's actually far more subtle and far more sinister. Is kind of a played out word, but sinister is kind of an important way to look at it, because There's another piece of this that's not about your grocery store. There's another piece of it that is about very serious things, like the military-industrial complex. And once I started mapping out companies like Boeing, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, once I started looking at their boards of directors who are selected by their shareholders, right? Their shareholders vote on who's going to be on their board of directors. And once you notice who the shareholders are voting in and how these companies are being run and who's benefiting, you start to realize that the military-industrial complex is controlled by the same interest groups as your food products. They're controlled by the same interest groups as everything else, because it's all the same financial institutions in charge of all of these companies, right? The same is true for big pharma. The same is true for big agriculture. The same is even true for funerary homes and hospice care, water utilities, transportation, childcare facilities. Although there you might get a little more into private equity. They're all just owned by banks. And the bankers pretty much all have aligned interests. And when you start to map out who works at the banks, who owns the banks, who's on the boards of the banks, what kind of things are these people involved in, you start to get a sense for how the interests that are controlling everything in our country, everything around our globe in a certain way, it starts to demystify why the world is the way it is. Why there's poison in all the food. Why we're dropping bombs 24/7 all around the world. Why is it that everything is profiting them and destroying us? It's obvious once you realize that the incentive structures, it's not even some crazy conspiracy. It's not like they're sitting at a table all colluding and scheming. And I have mapped out the tables too, starting and surrounding BlackRock, first and foremost. It's not even that they're all at a table scheming how to control the world. It's that they're just at all these tables, all these boards of directors running all of these public corporations. They're just scheming on how to make the most money, how to win the game, right? And when the way that you win the game is by maximizing shareholder value, you wind up with some pretty messed up end points, especially when the end point is something that you would rub on your skin, the largest organ in your body. Something that you would put into your armpits, maybe even after you shaved. Something that you would stick up in your hoo-ha, one of the most sensitive organ membranes in your whole body. If I can make more money by putting some toxic chemicals in there, these guys are going to do it because that's actually their job. They are beholden to their shareholders. They have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders. And that fiduciary duty is a legal obligation to do whatever maximizes profit and value for shareholders. And so they all vote for who runs the club. And when you get to the top of the club, your job is to run the club, all of corporate America, in a way that benefits each other maximally. And in theory, we're shareholders too. In theory, we should be benefiting too. In theory, when they're making all of our food products, that should be for our betterment. But in reality, no, we wind up getting poisoned. We wind up getting extorted. We wind up getting scammed, basically, at every level, not just in the grocery store. Way more than just the grocery store. But that starts to help you understand how we wound up here. It's this slow creep of corrupted capitalism where the corruption gets to the top and then the top runs the system and then it self-perpetuates endlessly. And it starts to capture the regulators. It starts to capture the science. It starts to capture the education system. Because while they're making all this money, they're looking around at how do we spend it to ensure that we're going to keep making it. right? And that's how you wind up with absolute atrocities like this. This is the baby food aisle at my local grocery store back in Bellingham, where I grew up. It is a couple aisles of baby food and an aisle of formula and snacks. And I was wondering one day way back, who owns all of these baby food products on this aisle shelf? And we just made a video about it. It's different in every store, but in this store, because this store was a little more discount, it's affordable so that everyone can afford it. But the thing is that what you can afford is all of these brands, and these brands are literally every single one of them. There's not a single baby food product in this whole grocery store that is not mega corporate. And I just made a video the other day about the report that I found showing that a bunch of these brands are full of toxic heavy metals like cadmium, lead, mercury, etc. Literally poisoning our children. Literally poisoning our infants and toddlers right from birth. And it's not necessarily because they want to poison anyone. They're just profiting. And they're perfectly happy to be negligent to do it. You go to the cereal aisle, one of the most controlled aisles in the grocery store. Just getting your product on the shelves in the cereal aisle costs a ton of money because they charge slotting fees for shelf space in the grocery store now. And that's a whole other rabbit hole. But when you start looking at who owns all the cereal, it's the exact same story. Every color, that's a mega corporation. And all the empty gaps, that's just their store brand, which is also repackaged mega corporation. This store only had one family-owned company on the shelves, and it's in green there, and I'll show you later. More of the baby food, more of the baby food. And a lot of these, you might notice, like this is all plum organic. Packaged and designed to look like it's really good for your baby. To look like maybe it's an organic company that really cares. Yeah, sure, they get an organic stamp, but then they also test extremely high for toxic heavy metals and all these other, technically I'm just referring to the toxic heavy metal report, so I'm not going to get out over my skis on that. Beech nut and plum, both of them. Red. And so this is where we started to realize that this is not just about where we spend our money. It's not just about voting with your dollar as some ethical or moral thing. In a lot of ways, in a lot of these industries, it's actually about your health. It's actually about what is in the products as well. And it's not always family and founder-owned companies are great and corporations are always evil. But it's not a bad heuristic to get you started. And actually, where I started, the very first grocery store aisle that I went to was the tampon aisle. And I'm going to make a whole other video about the tampon aisle here quick. But that is where it all started, is in this specific tampon aisle with this specific photo. And I looked it all up and realized that every single option, except for this one tiny set over there, this section of Lola, which has since been bought out by mega corporations. I'll show you later. There's just that one tiny section, which at the time was female founder owned. And all the rest was mega corporations. And one of them was Energizer, the battery company. Literally battery companies owning tampon brands because profit. It goes on in every industry, in every aisle. And it goes way beyond the grocery store. So, I spent all of 2023 and a bunch of 2024 doing research into all these brands, making spreadsheets, trying to share all this information. Trying to figure out who owns everything and trying to find products that I could put into my life that I could be buying for my own home and my own life that are family and founder owned, that are a little bit healthier and that aren't giving money to this giant blob that is the military industrial complex, that is the banking complex, that is controlled politicians. It's all of those things. It's the whole deep state in its corporate identity. And I did a lot of research and I produced a lot of content about how the deep state is basically one face, or rather the corporatocracy is one face of the deep state. They have their military face, they have their intelligence agencies face, they have their corporate face, and they all work to kind of, align the incentives and control the interests, the narratives, and everything. Not as like some giant collusion where they have a literal plan, but just as a giant sort of scheme where their interests are constantly aligning to their benefit and against ours. It's not rocket science, and you don't have to be super smart to understand it. It's pretty straightforward, honestly, and we all pretty well understand it when you just think to look. But it's one thing to look, and it's a whole other thing to actually have a practical way to see it and to navigate it and to find what you need to find, to do what you need to do. So let me just double check. How conspiratorial do we need to get up here? I think we'll let it chill. I think we'll let it chill on the bankers. We're not going to climb the banking hierarchy up to the World Bank and the BIS and all that on this live stream. That's a different story. It's the same story, different live stream. Instead, let's talk about solutions, because we spend so much time, especially me in my content niche and what I like to research and talk about, so much time talking about the problem. The problem basically occupies all of our time, is reporting on what's going wrong there, reporting on the corruption over there, reporting on all these assholes. But solutions, there are many. And by no means is Buyer a complete solution, and by no means is Buyer the whole solution. But Buyer is a solution that we can just integrate into our everyday lives, that you can just use. And I want to show you how to use it, how it works. But first, I want to bring the team on and introduce them to you guys, because ultimately transparency is a huge part of this. Ultimately, this app doesn't work if it can sell out. This app doesn't work if it can be bought, if advertisers can come in here and pay to change their ratings or pay to change their descriptions or pay for this or that. If they can pay for placement, nothing's going to work. If we're the kind of people that would ever sell out, nothing's going to work, right? And so transparency really matters. Transparency in how the app functions, transparency in who we are, transparency in why we're doing it. And so our goal is maximum transparency. Within reason, obviously, because safety is also important. And I live a pretty crazy life out here. But we're going to bring our boys on. There's 3 of us that made it, and we own it outright. There's no investors. There's no strings attached. There's no one above us. No one to tell us what to do. There's no advertisers. There's no paid placements. There's nothing. It's just us. And we'll describe a little bit about how we got here, about who we are, and some of the crazy stories along the way. And then we'll pop back into our little grocery store here, and we'll use it on some of these products, and we'll learn a few things about some of the craziest brands on the shelves and about some of the crazy things that you might not realize about some of the things that you actually might use frequently. Like this one, for example. This one's crazy. That's one of my favorite ones to talk about. I bet a lot of you guys, by now, because you hang out with me, I bet you guys know who owns that company. I bet you guys know who makes Hidden Valley Ranch, who owns Hidden Valley Ranch. Yeah, exactly. I see it in the chat. So, Kevin and John, you guys look like you're ready to pull in here. We're going to bring on the Buyer team, introduce them, say what's up, and then we'll roll into the Buyer app and we'll show you how it works. Give us a second to mic check, though, as we bring them in. What up? Kevin and John, welcome to the party. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see? I need to unmute this. Boom. And now you guys have audio. But actually, there we go. Now we got audio, homies. Kevin, can you give me an audio check?
Yep. We're way behind though.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Boom. And now
there he is.
I can talk to you guys. Cool. Chat, let me know if the audio is echoing to you guys. Chat, is audio echoing to you guys? I think audio is chilling.
Mic check.
Awesome.
Test 1 2.
Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah, I got you guys in one channel.
Awesome.
Because as you all know out there, the story of Ian Carroll is we're figuring shit out as we go. We ain't got no professional studio. We ain't got no big funding. We ain't got no playbook. I don't know how the hell to do nothing. I'm just figuring it out as I go. And these guys know a lot more about, like, fortunately, they're not figuring out how to build an app as they go. They've got experience and they know what they're doing, which is why it was so fortuitous that I met them. But for me, it's pretty much figuring it out as we go. And so welcome to the party, Kevin and John. Kevin, why don't you tell us about you and who you are first, and then John, we'll get to you in a second. Welcome to the stage, bro.
Thank you. It's great to be here on the stream, man. So I'm Kevin. In this little organization, obviously the three of us are equal owners in this, and we are and this is very important, we are the only owners.
Bingo.
But I sort of manage more of the marketing, the messaging side of things. My backstory is really, I spent many years doing marketing in the cannabis industry for some brands that some of you guys may know. I spent a lot of time banging my head in that industry, and I wanted to kind of get out, do something a little bit more broad, a little bit more important, that could touch more people, not just in the United States, not just in the state of California where I'm at, but globally. And so just a little backstory of how we kind of came into being with Ian is
John, real quick, let's tell that story after we introduce John, because that story is crazy, dude.
Okay.
The story of how I guess how you guys found me and then how I found you is crazy. So John, real quick, tell us who you are, John. Tell us the story. Introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm John. I'm a developer. I just love building stuff. Last 15 years or so, been in the cannabis industry, much like Kevin, doing branding, packaging design, sourcing, all that kind of stuff. So I'm the guy they call when they want it to look nice, when they're trying to get to market, and find things cheaper, make it work better. And I just love building projects. And I was working on another project when I met Kevin. I want to say 2 years ago, Kevin now.
Yeah.
And working in the same industry, and then parted ways on that, and then came back together for this, and really just been cranking it since.
Yeah, John is our builder. John is the brains behind this thing. He's a freaking mad genius. Thank God for John. And you guys had worked together on these other projects before we ever met. And Kevin, was it you that first had the idea to reach out to me because you were watching my content? Was it you that kind of spawned that, right?
Yeah. So, I was a big fan of your content from like day one. Big fan of the vibe, big fan of like sticking it to the man, which is always a good thing. Coming from the cannabis industry, we're mavericks. We have to work in the fringe. And so I like your spirit. So like John was saying, he was kind of working on this thing, and John and I worked together. We'd done client work with a bunch of people. We built some brands, some websites, some things of that nature. And then we kind of weren't working together for a while. And then we were just catching up one day, and he's like, look at this app I'm building. And it was another app for the cannabis industry. And I was like, this is really cool. And he's telling me all about the functionalities. And I'm like, have you heard of this guy, Ian Carroll? Because he has these spreadsheets. And he's like, I actually have. So we went and we got the spreadsheets, and John started building out the scanner function and backing it up just to the spreadsheets. And he had it done, and he got so inspired and did it in just a few hours. Like that evening, he's like, I got the functionality to work.
It was a white page with a box to scan. It was nothing
Dude,
else.
it's the basics first, right? Because it was putting out the spreadsheets where like when the audience was asking for spreadsheets, I was like, oh yeah, because then I'm putting something out that hopefully someone else can run with. And they were like, it needs to be an app. And I was like, I don't fucking know how to make an app, dude. But I can do this. I can make a spreadsheet that can hopefully get out there, and hopefully that'll find someone that'll take it to the next level that I can't take it to. And then Kevin's like, bro, I'll take that to the next level. John's like, bro, I'll take this to the next level.
Yeah. So
how long was it from that point to when you emailed me?
A week.
About even less. I mean, we were on our first call with you within a week. So
tell that story, dude. Tell that story. It's awesome.
Yeah. So the story is that unless Ian follows you on social media, you can't DM him. And even if you could, I bet he would
no,
never
dude.
See it,
I don't
right?
read anything. Like I have so many DMs and messages.
And I didn't know Ian. I had no connection to him. I didn't know anybody who knew him. And so we had this idea of, well, let's find his email. And how we found his email, I'm not going to say, but we found his email and it was very difficult. And then on his website, I noticed there was, I think it was PayPal. And it was like, hey, if you want to like support my work, PayPal me. So I just started PayPaling him $5 and leaving a message and being like, I sent you an email, please respond. I think it was the second time that I sent him $5. He had saw the email as the same time as I was sending it and responded was like, I've been waiting for somebody to make this.
Yeah, because the email title was, we're building your app. We want to show it to you.
Literally.
Keyword being, we're building it. I'd had a lot of people reach out being like, oh, it's a cool idea. I would love to get involved, this and that. Kind of like asking to get involved with like, with something like with me gonna do it, and it's like, I don't fucking know how to do it, dog. Like, I need you to do it. And so there's this like incentive, or there's this like initiative thing that when you find someone that's like taking initiative and just doing it, which has always been my mindset of like I'm just gonna put shit out there and people can take it and run with it and do stuff. And so when you messaged me and was like, we're already building it, we want to show it to you, I'm like, sick, let's get on a call.
Yeah, absolutely. And we weren't like trying to shill you. We weren't like,
we weren't
trying to get money from you. And to be honest with you, we didn't know how involved you wanted to be. And I initially was just like, well, maybe we'll go like, give them like 15% of the company. So we're going to build the whole thing. We're going to do the whole thing. Maybe he'll promote it for us or something. Maybe he won't. I don't know. And after our first call, I turned to John and I said, we're being equal partners. He's going to be involved in this. I already know it. And I felt the energy in a way
immediately, dude.
That I was like, oh, this is like the homie. And I got to say, like, over the last 9 months, you've become like one of my best friends.
Oh, you guys are some of my best homies in the whole world right now. Like, we work together all day long on everything. Like, we're constantly building.
Literally. 12 hours in Discord the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And I found out too that like John and I grew up really near to each other. It was like, what's going on, dog?
It was
like,
crazy.
We were like, oh, do you know this person? Do you know this person? It was hilarious. It was like, okay, this is meant to be.
Yeah. So, and that's where it started. Right. And obviously, like, the app that you see today has a lot of elements of the things that we had thought of at the time, but then, it evolves and some of the things get on.
Yeah. How long ago did we open up the Discord for beta testing? Is that like 4 months ago now?
June something. I think it was June is when people started to flow in.
June. Yeah. It was when we started the beta testing. And so even still, like, we were like, okay, we're going to have it out this summer. And a lot of people, we've gotten a lot of comments in the last day of people just being like, oh, it took you long enough. And it's like, yeah, but also what we were going to put out over the summer and what we just put out yesterday, it's like light years of a difference. And so,
and realistically, it was basically just John coding for pretty much the entire time and us kind of testing and giving information and helping him to kind of structure it. But like, no big team, no big freaking like money, nothing like that. And so it was just a lot of hours and a lot of work to make a really good product. And that, like, really quickly before we get off of when we met, the other side of, so you told your side of it, but what I went into that first meeting doing actually was intentionally vetting your guys' morals, because my first thought was like, if this app is going to get made, it has to be morally pure. It has to be pure, because if it's not pure, if the people that are building it can be bought, if they have an incentive structure that's not aligned with like giving out information and unfiltered, unbiased, unbought information, it's just not, I don't even want to be associated with it. I don't want my name on it. I don't want anything. And I didn't want to give you guys, I didn't want to tell you guys that was my motivation, because I didn't want you to change your answers. Now that I know you, I wouldn't have been worried about that in the first place. But initially, in the first time we met, I was just like asking, like, so where do you see it going? What would you do with it? Do you think you would do this? Kind of asking a few leading questions to see if they would take the bait. And it was just like aces. It was like, these guys are so freaking solid. And in many ways, Kevin is like almost more idealistic than me. John is almost more idealistic than me, because I get kind of jaded by my work. And so I was like, holy shit, this is so perfect, because then we can start at square one with the right reasons for being here. And it just took off. Like, we just started cruising and crushing, and we launched the beta testing in a Discord, which is still live. You can go to that Discord for help with it. That Discord community is full of awesome based homies. Super cool community. Excuse me. And
there's about 3,000 people in there right now.
How many people did we have sign up for the beta test across that time period? Was it like 60,000 people or something on the beta sign up?
Just over
1,000, yeah.
Yeah, 61,000 people, which
Total
is,
madness.
you know, incredible when you think about like some of the biggest apps in the world, like Facebook or I don't know, Uber, anything like that. I highly doubt they had that many people
They
that
weren't as
were
freaking
yeah.
cool.
ready.
They were not as cool as our homies.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we're going to exceed that
No.
as an app, and that's not even really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to think about like how much market share we can get, how much money we can get. What we think about, and the metric that matters to us, is how many hands can we put this in? How many people can we give them this powerful tool to vote with their dollar? And the hope is that the more of you that get in and do this, then we can show these mega corporations that it could actually be profitable to not poison us, and how unprofitable it will be to poison us once people understand. Once people understand what greenwashing is and start to notice it, right? It's like when you understand what AI content looks like and then you start to see it and then you can't unsee it. It's like that.
Bingo.
And
then if
that's
we
what
start
hope
voting
this
with
app
our
is like.
dollars around those ideas, then that's like their only option is to change. And so it's they've been hiding behind the obscurity. They've been hiding behind this mechanism of sort of how hard it is to filter out who's doing what, who's poisoning you, who owns each brand. And once you can decode all that easily and the regular person can understand that like, oh, I don't want to buy from you because you're a shitty company. And now I can just find out what are all the products that you're secretly hiding on all these shelves. Suddenly that company has to decide, do I lose all these customers or do I change my ways, right? So it's not just to change us. It's not just to support family and founder-owned businesses, which is all awesome, but it's also to push on the whole corporate structure together because now we've decoded their information in an easy way that can be in everyone's hands.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we're involved at this point with almost everything that Ian does, right? From the YouTube to the Twitch to everything here. And so, you know, we're constantly looking at the messages and the comments and things. And, you know, one thing that always comes up, and I've seen it like 4 times just in this live stream, is like, okay, yeah, like you're presenting the problem. What's the solution? And it's like, this isn't the whole solution, but this is a solution for you.
Yeah.
Like, this is how we go back against the banks, right? Because what do they want? They want our money.
Yep.
And so if we can withhold from them and we can give it to where we actually care, what's aligned with our morals. And for us, it's family, founder-owned businesses. You know, for you, it might be something else, right? And that also gets into the big ethos of our brand. And what's kind of separates us from these other apps out there is a lot of people just want to be told what's good, what's healthy, what's ethical. We're not doing that. We're saying, here's all of the information. You're an adult. You choose what's right for you and your ethics and your morals, what's right for your family. Like, just right down to the filters, the ingredient filters in our app, right? John's son has allergies, like, and so what's healthy, what's some, you know, dude with an app who approves things and he's going to go and say something's healthy, that thing could kill John's son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like, it's unethical to be the arbiter of truth here. No, what we want to do is we want to give you the information and let you be informed. And when you're informed, you can make the right decision for you and your family. And that's the basis of this app, because today is kind of day one, right? And people are like, oh yeah, but these other apps kind of tell me what's healthy. It's like, hey, that's great. If that's what you want, like, those apps already exist, but like, that's not what we're here to do. We're giving a radically different data set for you so that you can make these decisions for yourself. And I couldn't be more proud of a project. I've never felt so good about a project ever in my life. Again, like, if we make millions of dollars, or I can just like buy myself a treat every once in a while, I don't care. What matters is that, like, we the people have the power back into our hands, because now more than ever it feels like we don't have any power, and I want to do what I can to put power back in our hands.
That ethos that you're talking about was a huge part of why I was so impressed and inspired at first when I met you guys too, and it just has repeatedly redoubled in that. so many people want to shill their opinion or shill their political perspective or shill their understanding of information is like, I know what's healthy, I know what's right, I know what's good, I know what's true. And that, especially in the grocery aisles, especially in food and nutrition and health, is just like not real. That's not like, I don't know. No one knows. And even if you are the most educated person ever and you do know, you're still not going to know the solution for everybody. You're not going to know the morals of everybody. And so this ethos that came in with you guys right from the start was, we're not going to tell people what's right or wrong, what's good or bad. We're just going to give you the information, let you decide. That's been so critical. And it's been like the driving, guiding light of the whole project all along. And it will always be the guiding light. Is we're not going to sell ads to tell you what's good or bad. We're not going to put our ideas in to tell you what's good and bad. And we've had companies reach out and be like, hey, can I modify my information in there to say what I want to say? And it's like, no, you can't. You can modify it if it's incorrect. If you want to notify us of something that's incorrect, we'll correct anything we get wrong. But we're not going to let a company, even if it's the sickest founder family owned company in the world, we're not going to let them just like write their own like puff piece to inform the people, because the point is that it's unbalanced, as accurate as possible information.
Yeah, and one other thing kind of like dovetailed with that is we've gotten a lot of comments about people wondering how we're going to prevent companies from coming in and botting our app and things of that nature. And I kind of want to let John kind of speak a little bit more of that. We've thought about this, and we've put some protections in place, and these were mostly John's ideas. And he's what colloquially we call him the wizard, and so he did his wizard shit and he figured it out.
Yeah, don't give away too much secret sauce, John, but
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
By no means. No, yeah. So I mean, everything in the back end is all tied together super nice, but like the body prevention is basically put on a physical feature, so you're not going to get around it by creating mass accounts and rating. All the rating and reviews are all based on your user experience and how much you use it, and you'll see that in the app over time. So that way, no one's going to go in and make 1,000 accounts and scan 100 items on all phones physically to make and get past that to be able to leave a review. And on top of that, we have profanity filters. We have AI moderation that if flagged, if a thing seems shilly, it gets flagged. AI checks it. It kicks it to us. We double check it, and then gets kicked or banned and flagged, all that kind of stuff. And then even on top of that, like our data privacy, all the data is just in our database. We have no connections to anybody. We're not selling any data to anybody.
And we never
We're
will.
not using geolocation data. We use your camera to take the scans, and then we use your camera when you want to take a photo to update the ingredients and nutrition information. And that's it, dude. Like there's nothing anybody's going to ever have access to or have the ability to have access to, because it's, you're on an iPhone. Apple's got more data on you than we'll ever have. So like if you're worried about data, just throw your phone in the trash. But like
literally
in terms of what we're taking, it's literally we're saving things like what product you scan so you can come back to it, and what products are in your pantry, so that way in the next update, which we're rolling out soon, is going to have recipe generation in it. So where you can build and find recipes based on the foods you have in your home, not a Pinterest list with half the shit you got to go shop for. So all these features are just tools with your info for you. And at any point, you can go in the app, hit the gearbox in your profile, hit delete account, all your info's gone. Like we don't hold it, it's poofed, and no going back. So don't.
We have no interest in holding it too. Screw that. We don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to pay to hold your information. Yeah. And we're not going to sell anything ever. We're never going to sell the data. And John, one other question that we've gotten, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've had a few people ask about like, why are you asking for my birthday? It's like, because we're legally required to. We're legally required to only offer our app to people over the age of, I think, 13. Is that what it is, John?
Yeah. Well, it's whenever there's any kind of community content generation that's public, it has to be 13 or over, and it has to have heavy moderation on it, which was something we spent a lot of time dealing with Apple back and forth the last couple of weeks, making sure everything's tied together great. But yeah, that was a huge thing for us. News to me, but it makes sense, because if you're generating something, it has to be 13-year-old.
Someone should tell Roblox about it. Someone should tell Roblox.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah, but John, real quick before we wrap this up too, I just want to kind of tell a story about how on launch day, John and I were up until and Kevin was up with us too. Kevin was up and then he was out and then he was back in. He was kind of sick at the time. And this is just a couple nights ago. And John and I were up until 4 a.m, just fixing things, fixing bugs. Like John was like fixing code and getting an update ready, because every launch is always like, just it's wild to have it all go live all at once. That was crazy, dude. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. I woke up and I just felt so off the next day. I was having a hard time speaking.
Yeah.
I do see a
Yesterday was
comment.
tough.
I do see something that people are asking a lot of why mic access. That's only required if you hit the speech to text button and you don't want to type something out. Like the mic's not on when you're using the app, the camera's not on when you're using the app. Like y'all can chill.
I mean,
So,
I love the questions. I like the people who are skeptical. I like the people who are
Yeah.
asking questions.
Of course.
But
Absolutely.
ultimately, it's like we don't give a shit about your data. Like I'm so busy, and yeah, we commit to you now and forever that we will never sell any of your data. We don't store any of this shit. We don't want it. We just want to give you the tool so that you can use it to do your thing. And we think that this thing is going to do a lot more. It's going to really move the needle on behalf of the people and against the sort of corporate blob that is just gobbling up our money, and it's never coming back.
Yeah. One thing too, I just want to add is that we're not like keeping track of your user behavior. Like we're not doing this stuff, right? And there's one really big reason for it is that if we don't have that information, when the grocery stores and the mega corporations come to us and they offer us millions of dollars for this data to understand our user behavior better so that they can start targeting you people who are based, we don't even have it. Sorry, guys. Like
get fucked.
we literally we're not here. Like we're not trying to figure out how we can keep you in. Okay. Our user's in here for about 10 minutes a day. How do we get them to 11? That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like we actually don't care. We're way too busy to even think about that stuff. And we're not going to hire the types of people to do that types of stuff. We're trying to keep it lean and mean and keep it all the money out of it and really keep it so that we don't need to take money. We don't want to put ourselves in a corner where like this company is not going to run if we don't make money. Like that's not what we're about here. Like at all. Like
I'm constantly, and these guys can attest. I'm like, how can I make this as functional as possible if we were to just not have to have any users? This can work as bare bones as possible.
Yeah, the story of Buyer is basically
me.
John making the app leaner and leaner and leaner, making it save money and be more efficient, and me being like, John, we're going to pay for this part to be dope, okay? We're just going to pay the money. I'm going to pay the money to make this part really dope. You do your job and I'll do my job. And John's like, okay, but I did make this part better. It's like, sick. Nice work, bro.
Sick. Yeah. And so that really is, that is an unwavering thing for us, right? We're not going to sell your money. We're not here to, keep track of you guys. We're not trying to shill anything to you. In fact, we've built this in a way that we couldn't if we wanted to.
Bingo.
And that's very, very important. But also, and this is, I'm not trying to shill you guys into getting into premium, but the premium users, like your money isn't like going into our pocket. It's going into making sure that everybody can use this app for free if they're free users, right? We have about 2% of you guys that are paying for it. That pays for the functionality, keeps the lights on, keeps everything like that going. This isn't a money grab. I mean, we're going to hear, because it's polarizing to have somebody like Ian in this. So, of course, we're going to hear everything under the sun, but none of it's true, man. Like, we truly are here, like, for the people. Like, this is
three dudes that made an app that rocks.
Yeah. And if it wasn't that, I wouldn't have gotten involved from the start.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't super fun to work with you guys, I wouldn't have been working with you guys all this time because it's so much fun, dude. It's the best.
It's
coolest
so
project ever.
Because if we just wanted to shill thing and make more money, like we could start another YouTube channel. We could stream more. Like there's other ways to make money. It's like, that's not what this is about for us. This really is like, we wanted to make enough money so that we can provide this as a service to people. We can keep the lights on and we can keep this going forever. So like, please, if you're interested in these extra features, you want to, support us, you want to support the mission, things of that nature, you can totally become a premium member. We try to make it you know, very reasonably priced. We even have a donation if you feel so inclined. But again, like, this isn't me trying to get money out of you guys. This is just to put it into context why we have a premium, because we really we know that premium is probably going to sit at about 2 to 3% of our total users, right? And that could cover the costs of everything, then that's great. So if you are a premium member, just know that you're also supporting all of these other people to get in and get this information and to, you know, spend their money in a smart way, vote with their dollar. That's what you're doing. You're not like getting us like fucking Lambos and shit. Like, that's not what this is about.
I don't think Ian could fit in a Lambo.
I don't think so either.
Nope.
But that's just to
Plus,
put
my
it into
minivan is
context.
awesome. I like my minivan.
Absolutely. Because, you know, we hear like, you know, obviously, like, oh, people think that we're shilling things or we're doing this. Like, y'all don't know, like, every time we do something about this, somebody wants to invest money. Somebody wants to do this, we say no every time, right?
We've been approached quite a handful of times, especially early on. People just trying to throw money, even as a private company, not even necessarily going IPO or anything. But hey, I want to invest in it. I love what you guys are doing. And it's like, I appreciate it. I'm just a dude in a room on a computer. We don't need investments. Like, we're good.
We don't. We're not trying to have 800 employees and take over the world, right? Like, we're just trying to keep the lights on, keep this thing moving, and get it into more people's hands. Because the reality is by our estimations, we have about an average of 69 million Americans alone, and we have a huge international community. I don't even know how many we could, you know, say is a potential globally, but just in the United States, 69 million, sorry, is the number. 69 million people that we estimate are going grocery shopping once a week, right? And so what happens when we put real information in 69 million people's hands? Well, that changes our food system, right? And that's what we want, right? Like, we're thinking 3 steps down. We're not just thinking about how do we get this into more people's hands so that we can make more money. No, we're thinking about how do we get this into more people's hands so that we have a greater chance of actually enacting real change through, you know, through the buyers, right? And that's really what it's about. And if we can make a living and we can do all that, that's just a cherry on top. Right. But for us, like, we're grinding everything that we're doing. We can make money elsewhere. Like, if it's
honestly, we're all pretty hyped to move on to the next project, which I've already teased a little bit. We got the next project already in the works, and it's so freaking cool. So we're just stoked that Buyer's out.
3 more projects. We have 3 more projects in the lot.
We all work very similarly like that.
Yeah, and by the way, all of these things, some of you have heard about the web. That's us too. We have another one coming out hopefully in the spring or summer that is for a very niche audience, but it's
going to be
awesome. And then we have another project from another developer that we're kind of bringing into the fold with us that we want to do. So, you know, there's no shortage of ideas here. And that's also the other thing, is that if you are a premium and you're supporting us, you're supporting our company so that we can not just do Buyer and not just put Buyer into more hands, but we're also doing more tools. And everything that we do is for the people. Everything we do is for knowledge, for sovereignty, for freedom, right? And so every dollar that you help us do is going towards that. And so that's what we're up to. So again, like, if you can't afford $5 a month or anything, don't worry. Like, we're not stressed about that at all.
The free apps is great.
Yeah.
But if you do and you have it, you want to give, just know that, like, what you're giving is not to just like get us another vehicle and to put us in bigger homes. It's to, like, literally so that we can keep building more tools for more people to be self-sufficient, sovereign, and to understand the world that they're interacting with. Because the biggest thing is that the wool is being pulled over our eyes every day. It's never been more apparent. And if we can do and give you things that you can kind of lift that up from yourself to get yourself to where you want to be actually, and not just dream about where you want to go in this world, that's what you're supporting. So,
Yup.
you know, I can ramble on forever about this, but
John,
thank you guys so much, man.
John,
Really
before we do
appreciate it.
closing thoughts, can you tell us how many users we're at now? How many
Yeah,
users do we have signed up on the buyer app at this point?
Oh,
Number one in
Yeah,
health
I
and
got it
fitness
right
on
here.
day
Still-
one.
number
Yeah,
one,
we're-
baby,
we're
day
still-
one. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, dog. It's crazy.
We're still under 24 hours, and we are at 21,870 users sign up, and I'm getting about 1 to 3 every second. Like
Let's go.
We're about 1,000 an hour.
That's
It's pretty
you, homies,
insane.
and you're legends. You're all legends.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Literally.
And the coolest part
literally.
is once it expands beyond just the immediate audience that are watching my content or seeing stuff that I've put out, and it's going to start to spiderweb outwards into other people, other networks. People are going to share it, tell each other about it, and it's just going to take on a life of its own. And that's where the American people can all kind of start to realize, not just like, oh, here's a tool that I can use to personally understand this better, but also just to start the conversation about like consciousness, class consciousness. All of us peasants down here, all of us normal people start thinking about the big boys up top. Where is my money going, and who is at the top of this money chain, and what are they doing with it? And it's so exciting to have a simple tool that we can all just use in our pockets to sort of unlock that whole system. So, John,
And-
do you need
and-
no, yeah, what do you got? What you got?
Well, the full scope of the app too is really going to bring you in from shopping for your food all the way to preparing for your food. So we've got the shopping list in there. You know, we're going to be integrating that with Instacart, so you can build your list. You can push your cart to Instacart if you're that type of a purchaser. Go into the stores. We're going to have sharing with your significant others, so you can share your shopping list and have a live update. So if you're at the store and your wife's adding more stuff, your husband's adding more stuff, you're seeing it live. You're not trying to figure out, and it's tied to what product is in the store. So you're not like, oh, what cheese is this? It's you hit the button and your cheese version brand opens up. You can see it all. And then into the recipe generation. So from planning your food and shopping list to knowing what's in it and who you're supporting to making your meals for your family, and then it's just going to be a cycle.
Yeah, recipes aren't in there yet, but they're gonna be freaking sick. That's John's next master plan, and he's already
gonna be
basically got it
great.
cooked up, so to speak. And holy
Yeah.
shit, it's cool. And so you're gonna have your pantry,
It's
you
gonna
got
be
your
great.
shopping list, you got your products, you got your recipes. It's the whole food cycle. It's gonna be. I mean, we aren't going all the way to the soil yet, but we know.
Yeah.
We'll, yeah.
And-
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
And I do want to say another thing about because people have asked fruits, veggies, meats, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the harder things. Meats, you know, have barcodes that are generally tied if it's a brand meat. If it's
Yeah, if
like,
it's in
you
a
know,
package.
Kroger, yeah, if it's Kroger, you know, butcher pack or like anything like that, it's going to be a little bit harder to find. PLUs, just for nerdism, PLUs tied directly to just a barcode to a fruit. So like 4404 or whatever, I think is bananas. And that's just a banana barcode that every store can recognize. That means this price. Because fruits and vegetables come from different farms and distribution around the country, it's really hard, or it's impossible to tie that PLU to what farm that is. So we can't trace it back, but we are working on building a collective database of the different farms that produce apples, the different farms that do bananas and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's gonna be a
eventually when the
monumental
PLUs get
undertaking,
put in,
but
yeah, eventually
definitely
when the PLUs
on
get
the
put in, then
list.
you can say, oh, is this that? And usually, you know, when you're at the store, you can look under the shelf of produce and see where it came from, like Chelan Fruits for apples. I know that they're a huge, you know, worldwide distributor for apples. So it's like a handful, but yeah, it's not as traceable and as easily sourceable as quickly as you know, a normal PLU or a normal barcode is.
yeah.
Yeah. And in the spirit of John kind of dropping some knowledge on what we have coming up, we haven't talked about this, but I think this is a good time to announce that Ian and I are actually going to be doing a podcast about all of this stuff, about the food system and everything like that. And that's going to be coming relatively soon. And just so people know, like, I actually come from the food world. I was a cook for 10 years. I was up to a sous
Same.
chef. I know Ian also many years. I did WOOF, worldwide opportunities in organic farming. If anybody knows what that is, I literally worked on organic farms in Petaluma, Northern California. I've literally worked from seed to table. it's a big passion of mine. And so to be able to have a podcast about the food system, corruption, all these sorts of things that around the grocery store, understanding what does greenwashing mean and like these types of things, so you can really be educated and understand, not just in the app, but to also have content where you can kind of like, we can get into like actually have like real discussions about this for like an hour at a time. That's something that is coming. So yeah, buy our podcast. That's going to be a 2026 thing. And it's going to be coming a lot sooner than you think. So
yeah, and it'll be cool to talk to experts inside the industry, to talk to people that are like within all these crazy systems.
Yes. Are you pulling out the Benjamin Lore book?
Yeah, this book, The Secret Life of Groceries, is kind of a big inspiration for that, and how this guy, a journalist, kind of a deep journalist, he just went so deep into how food systems work, how grocery store systems work, and it was fascinating in ways that you would never expect. And it totally changes your perspective on every food you buy, everything you eat, everything that you purchase at a store, trucking industry, the global networks of supply industry. And you start to realize just how much of our world is moved by these systems that are invisible to all of us. And so getting a chance to talk to people inside of all those invisible systems is going to be really cool, to sort of demystify how things are really getting to the shelf and actually getting into your buyer scanner, so to speak. So super stoked on that. Yeah. Super stoked for the depth that's
that book is like a Bible for this company, for us. I started reading it, and then like the day I started reading, I was like, Ian, you need to read this. And then he like,
we're definitely going to talk to Benjamin at some point.
He blasted through it. And yeah, I've actually reached out to Benjamin, the author of the book. His name's Benjamin Lore. The book is called The Secret Life of Groceries. And he's
highly recommend.
Super stoked on the app. And he said, whenever we start the podcast, he is 100% down. So we really look forward to speaking to him and really getting into it. And Ian, if you didn't know, Ian actually did some reporting on, I believe, a couple of the episodes that he did for Candace about different sections of this. There's the shrimping industry and there's the trucking industry episodes. Highly suggest going back to Candace's episodes that Ian did and checking those out, because it's actually super fascinating. And that book can open up your eyes to the food system. And that's what we hope the podcast will do. Yep. So, very, very excited about that.
Yeah.
And, the one thing that I do want to point out too, that Ian's made a couple comments on is, it's great to be able to see who owns everything. And there is the overwhelming feeling of like, oh my God, Blackrock owns everything. I can't change my whole world. And you can change the products that you can. I know, given your economics state, if you can afford to change to the better family-owned products, really it's when you buy from those family-owned products, those family-owned companies can grow. They're supporting employees in the U.S. They're farming products in the U.S. They're buying and sourcing things here because they want to grow their community in their town. You're not buying from a company that's got a warehouse and they're buying 80% of their products importing from China to then shove into there and make it as cheap as possible and employing, or even just sourcing it straight from overseas and selling you an overseas product as cheap as they can. That's really the biggest thing with family founder-owned companies, is supporting them and their local network around that. This strengthens the local communities better.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, boys, any final thoughts on the way out? Kevin, you got a final thought for us?
My final thought is download the Buyer app. If you like it, give us a good review. If you hate it, please don't review it.
If you have any issues, if you hate it, we have an awesome bug feature or bug reporting in the app. So if something's broken, don't go to the review section on the app and say, hey, this thing doesn't slide all the way down. Hop into Discord, but tag me. I'm here every day.
John can fix it overnight.
Updates every 2 days, literally. So just like hop in, let us know what's up. We're always here.
It's a tool for the people by the people. And if you give us good suggestions, if you report things that aren't working right, that helps us make the app better. And like some of the coolest features have come out of discussions with beta testers that were in there saying, hey, I would love to have this. Can we build this thing this way? And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's go, dude. So we can actually make the thing better all together. So absolutely.
Yeah. So if I have one final thing to say, it's I actually want to take that moment to thank every single beta user.
Yeah.
You guys worked with us for like 6 months, and you gave us so many great suggestions. When I said earlier that the app that we were going to release over the summer and the app that we released yesterday is vastly different, it's largely because of the beta community. We had 60,000 people sign up. I think we had something like 6 or 7,000 people that actually beta tested with us, which is incredible. And they were in the Discord, they were talking to people, they were sharing their discoveries, and more importantly, they were telling us what worked, what didn't work, what they would love to see happen. And we tried to implement as many of those great ideas as we could. Without the beta community, we literally couldn't have done this. And so as our little, we could never thank the beta community enough, but our little way of thanking them was by giving all of them free access to premium for a year. If you're a beta user and for some reason it doesn't work, please reach out to us on Discord. We will get you sorted out. Super, super thank you to the beta users. Like, you guys are all legends. Literally.
Bingo. Yep. John, any closing thoughts?
Much love. Let me know how you guys like it. Got any issues? I'm here at my desk.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah. We're just getting started. And we just crossed 22,000 users just now.
Yeah, you guys are crazy.
Boom. Shout out to all of you homies. Thanks for being here. John, Kevin, you're legends. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Total homies. The best. I freaking love these guys. And I'm not making it up when I say it. Like, we work together all day, every day. Like, we are constantly building things and changing things.
That was awesome.
It's the best. And so that's the buyer app. That is one little solution, one little thing that we can do to put something in your hands to make your life easier, to make you more knowledgeable, to make you more informed and more capable of making little shifts that will change the landscape, change the structure, change how it's all working. And if enough people are into it, if enough people get informed, if enough people start voting with their buying power, we can actually push the whole system. We can push the whole corporate structure just with the incentives alone, because money rules the world, but they rely on our money to do it. And the only way that they win by relying on that money, by siphoning that money to where they want it, is by our ignorance. So don't be ignorant. Get informed, do your own research, and use tools. And hopefully the buyer app will be a helpful tool to let you just kind of peel back one more layer and one more layer and one more layer behind who owns everything and who's really up to all this fun end games. So lastly, I want to show you just a few scans of how this works. Just a little bit of the buyer app. If you haven't seen it yet, I've been playing with it like crazy for months now, and especially in the last several days since we hit the final build that we went live with. And I'm just going to pull up a few products here. And why don't we just start with tampons? Why don't we start where it all started? With the tampon industry. Because tampons are full of poison, and family and founder-owned tampon industry is way better by almost every metric. And then they're actually run by women, usually, that actually care about your health. And you'd be surprised how many of these products have been bought out by big corporations. And then maybe little by little, maybe little things change over time. Who knows? You might notice some stuff. But let me see if my phone will show up again or if I have to disconnect and reconnect. Boom, we're in. So when you're in the buyer app, yours will have your own scans and all that. It'll have your own stuff going on. And you can go back to your recent scans. You just hit the center red button for the scanner right there, and you open it up. You find a barcode. Oh, normally it actually goes really slow while it's plugged into my computer, but it just raged through that. Cora, owned by Cora Life, founder-owned, woman-owned. And you can learn about the ingredients, obviously much more relevant often in food products. But you can click on the top, ownership, and get right into who owns the company, what's the story of the company. Cora isn't just another period product brand. It's mission-driven powerhouse founded by Molly Hayward, who wanted to provide comfort and access to period products. What set them apart was their commitment to giving back. For every product sold, Cora donates period products and body literacy resources, making them a brand with purpose baked right into their DNA. And their ownership and corporate structure, the big piece here, Cora proudly wears its founder-owned badge, with Molly Hayward steering the ship since day one. There's no giant conglomerate pulling the strings here, just a dedicated team on a mission to change the conversation around period and personal care. Now, let's look at one of the old school, originally, I believe, female founder-owned. Are they still? No, they're not. Procter & Gamble, baby. L Brands, you sold out. But you kept it looking like you were all still the same thing, huh? L is the organic tampon brand that burst onto the scene with its promised eco-friendly, chemical-free period care, founded by Talia Frankel, who traded her camera for cotton. L quickly became a go-to for anyone who wanted their vagina to be as natural as Whole Foods produce aisle, sorry. But Procter & Gamble, the megacorp that also sells you Tide, Pantene, and diapers, yep, that same company that keeps your laundry fresh is also here to keep your period eco-conscious. L was acquired in 2023, making it the small indie brand that now has the backing of a global empire. So right when I was making the very first tampon aisle or tampon video, L, I think, had just sold, and Lola was still founder-owned at the time. But then Lola went to Forum Brands. And you can click there. Lola isn't just a scrappy startup anymore. It's part of the Forum Brands family. That means it's not just a little indie brand in the corner, but backed by big money. The 2024 acquisition by Forum gave them the muscle to compete in the mainstream without losing their cool girl vibe. And then you can click on Forum Brands at the top and learn about Forum Brands. Forum Brands is the kind of company that's shrouded in mystery, like a secret society without creepy robes. And you can read on and on and on. Honeypot is another controversial one. And it opens up an interesting conversation here. Honeypot was founded by Beatrice Dixon, right? But a little bit of money came in, but it's not always so simple. It's not always that when a company gets bought out, it immediately is evil. It's not that it's always all the ownership changes. It's not always that mega corporate or private equity or private owned companies are always evil. So the details matter. And that's why we're trying to give you this information, not just in information form, but also in narrative form. So you can understand the history of these companies, understand who came in, who gave money, how much money they gave, hopefully, and then learn a little bit about whatever companies are kind of controlling things at the top. And Honeypot is a really great example. Founded by a woman that wanted to, help women use healthier period care. The Honeypot company isn't just a brand, it's a statement. Founded by Beatrice Dixon and her brother in 2012, it quickly made waves by putting Black-owned women's health front and center. But the real plot twist came in 2024 when Compass Diversified dropped $380 million in cash to buy the company. Suddenly, a brand built on empowerment was being bankrolled by a private equity firm. The acquisition didn't ruffle too many feathers, though. Honeypot's leadership stayed intact, and Compass promised to keep the mission alive. So it's now part of Compass Diversified Holdings, but Beatrice Dixon is still the CEO, still the leading vision, and still the face of the brand, the way it's always been about, more than just profit margins, at least at the surface. And so there, maybe you don't trust it anymore, and maybe you switch your brand. Maybe you still trust Beatrice, and you just trust that she's going to keep a hold of the brand. Maybe you just keep your eye on it. We just are trying to give you the information as best as we can, and you can take that information and do whatever you want with it. You can learn about Compass Diversified Holdings, form your own opinion on this private equity firm and all the others. It's up to you, right? And then there's also brands like August, there's all these social media brands that start on TikTok and stuff like that. August, still founder owned by August, a small independent tampon brand that's making big waves in the industry. August is proudly founder owned and independent. No corporate overlords, no shady murders, just a small team of passionate individuals dedicated to revolutionizing period care. So it is a complex story for each and every brand that you have to navigate for yourself a little bit. Or if you just want the quick and skinny, and you want to just scan Annie's macaroni and cheese and see owned by General Mills, blank, not there, I'm going to go look for something else, you can do that too. Okay. It's up to you how to use the information. We're just here to provide it. And period care is kind of where the story all started. And it's a really good example of why it actually matters who's making these kinds of things, because in some cases, it's literally deeply connected to your health. Oh, I forgot to scan Rael. Little Gigi cam. Yeah, what's up, Gigi? Gigi does not have a barcode, and she's not owned by the corporate overlords. Oh, you guys couldn't see her because I didn't have it on the screen. Haha, I just did a Gigi cam, and you guys didn't even get to see it. Swing! Maybe next time. Suckers. Rael. Let's learn about Rael. Rael isn't one of those faceless giants. It's a scrappy underdog founded by a trio of women from Korea who combined K-beauty know-how with a clean, no-nonsense ethos. No parent company pulling the strings here. Proudly founder-owned. Sick. Let's go. Cool. And lastly, we'll just get hey, Gigi, what's up? Yeah, there's a little Gigi cam. Little Gigi cam. Oh, you guys don't got the Gigi cam still. I keep on shorting you on the Gigi cam. Well, I guess the Gigi cam will just have to wait until the after party. Sorry, guys. So that is how the buyer app works. When you scan, when you read, the information is as accurate as we can possibly get it. And we've worked tirelessly for months and months and months to get the information dialed in. But the database is still building. You'll find products that aren't in there yet. And there's a button to activate the research function and to actively build the database together. And then over time, we're going to improve it. We're going to scan through it and make sure it's all as accurate as possible. There's all sorts of other things in there, but the main thing that I want to point out to you guys while we're here is that you can create shopping lists that you can share amongst your family members, with your friends, with yourself, and you can create a pantry that it's way easier to put these kinds of things in when you can just scan, click. You can import things between these things. Super useful depending on how you want to use it. And the pantry is where we're going to plug in the recipes real soon. The other thing you should know about is that at the top right corner, there's a button to filter ingredients, and you can filter by ingredient, by filter pack, like vegan, keto, paleo, etc. Or if you have the filters, I think, are divided between the premium subscription and the regular subscription. And if you're a premium subscription, you can customize them all to your heart's content as well. There's a lot of other features in there, a lot of other Easter eggs. You can rate products. You can give products reviews once you've done enough scans. And that way we can bring in sort of the online shopping experience of like on Amazon, how you can read a review and understand if people like the product or not, which is a total game changer when you're trying to buy something new. And that can now be done in the grocery store with your food and with other products like period care or lotion or shampoo, whatever it is. And personally, I think that's one of the most revolutionary pieces of this app is bringing in crowdsourced ratings and reviews into all the products in the store. So it's not just online shopping. Now you have that in the store with you as well.